Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Y'all leave for 3 weeks, and I found another stand. So I can drag more stuff in. I don't know that it helps me keep it more organized, but we will see. Well, this is the best side I've seen this morning since I looked in the mirror. I looked in there and saw a pretty full this morning, but anyway, so this is great. You guys being back. This place felt empty for a few weeks. We were glad to get to come down and fortunate enough to not really be snowed in. I had a little bit of second thoughts that first morning we rode down here and did this online because we kind of jumped into the parking lot. But thankfully we've had the weather and this Lord doesn't ever mess up. There's no mistakes made on His part. This lesson with you guys here today, I think there's a lot of interaction in it. I am going to go ahead and warn y'all, because I think I can probably about quit warning you at this point, that this is a little bit different take, because honestly, Good Lord changed this message at 11:30 this last night. Did the lesson, got it. We rode out to Nashville, Tennessee, and had fun at a big convention, and Todd drove us back, and I was making a few notes for this morning, and we got about Martha Wilson, and got this really engaging guy that was preaching on the subject, and he derailed everything I had between him and the Good Lord, between that and getting home, and so we were back up last night for a little while, going to go in a little bit different direction, so hopefully I can keep it out of the ditch this morning, and we'll still get what He wants us to get out of it, as it should be. We're back over in 1 Corinthians, and again, we get to see a connection between the folks, I guess, that we always say are living the Gospels that we're privileged to have, and we get to see that connection, how it works back to us. The Word, for sure, and it just keeps proving itself to me the more classes I'm in and the more studying and the deeper I get, it's obvious the Word doesn't change. We are what changes. Our mindset's what changes. What was put in the Word will be in the Word, and it'll be here if Lord tarries His coming, as Granny used to say, 1,000 years from now. So we're going to get on a couple little subjects, and we're not going to get too deep on them, but like I said, hopefully we can kind of keep this thing out of the ditch, because it's running right on the white line, I promise. But anyway, so we're back over with Paul. And folks, the more I study, and this is personal this morning, the more I study Paul, the better I like Paul. Not that I had any reason not to like Paul, but the more I'm there, and the more times you look at the different situations, and the more time you get to spend in the Word, you know, how he interacted with the Romans, different than Corinthians, and how, and that's really where we're going to get into the meat of this thing today, is just his ability to truly be a servant of Jesus, a servant of God, his ability to work on different levels with different folks. And honestly, I feel like that's where we want to take this thing this morning. But we're going to be very, very careful how we approach that. But anyway, just our quick background that I always like to do. I mean, Paul is basically in this particular area. Paul wants to preach. I mean, there's not a doubt. Anytime he wants to do God's work, and this is kind of a unique situation because he is actually going to, and I don't really have a good word for it, but he's going to drop. I mean, he's an apostle, folks. I mean, and I'm not trying to pedestal people, but he's an apostle of Christ, right? And in this particular situation, Paul always puts himself and understands, as much as probably any of the disciples or apostles did, to that servitude, to that being a servant of Christ. He truly understands that that's the role. He is working for God, under God, and he knows where his place is. However, just like we had on Wednesday night, Lonnie, and like I said, the Lord don't make mistakes. We were talking about these, sometimes the apostles, even in a humorous way, we saw on Wednesday night was like, oh yeah, I'm just an apostle, y'all are kings, right? to kind of get them in their place. But he does, in this particular instance that we're going to get into, truly like humble himself down. He doesn't take advantage of what he, as an apostle, should just do under normal circumstances here. To further just put himself in a place where nobody can question his intentions, so that they can't put any of this on him. They can't say this is for the glory of Paul. He's going to put himself truly, we're going to see in this servitude role. The other thing that we're going to get in our lesson today is just a reminder, and it's funny, we had our deacons meeting this morning, Mike was full in Sunday school. We're talking about the visitation, and I wanted to interact with you guys here towards the end, and that's the plan for close, is just talk about our visitation that we're going to do, how it particularly ties to this lesson, how it applies to everything that we've been studying, and really how it applies to the Great Commission. So, we got the great command to love God, love everybody, love our neighbor, love God. Then we've got this commission to go make more disciples. And so we're going to get into that just a little bit. And the other thing is just, as we meet people, we want to think today, and that's kind of what I want y'all to be thinking about for the end, especially with visitation. When we just meet somebody, how do we get to, level's not a good word, how do we get to the same place in life that they're in? How do we get to an understanding where we can have a good conversation with them that relates to them and still stay out of the world? So I guess I'm going to give you a quick example. It's probably not the best one, but if I go visit some guy's house and he's 3 seats to the wind, well, if I wanted to have a really good time with him the rest of the afternoon, I'd probably just go up there with him, and he would probably accept me quicker in that manner. But that acceptance tarnishes everything we're doing to work for God. If I go, and I was that guy, so I can say that. If I go into a crowd of construction guys, and they're telling a bunch of dirty jokes and sharing pictures they shouldn't be sharing, well, I've told y'all before, for years of my life, I felt like that was the way you went to fit in with them. That's the way you got them to like you, so you just fell in with them. Well, that's great, but then that ruins your mission for Christ. That ruins your witness. That tarnishes it. So the easy way, a lot of times, to fit into people is to do what they're doing. But what we're going to find, when I first started to teach this morning, Lonnie, I had wrote down that Paul's a chameleon. And then I got to scratch that out after I heard 2 other preachers say that's the worst thing you can say, because he wasn't a chameleon. He wasn't giving up his... A chameleon, it changes to its color, exactly. They're the weirdest lizard there is. You can put them on a red wall, they'll turn red. You put them on a yellow wall, they'll turn yellow, they'll turn stripes. We shouldn't be a chameleon.
That's what the world is right now.
The world itself is a chameleon. You may listen to the same preacher I listened to last night. But I literally wrote, guys, on the way back from Nashville, and that's what put this whole thing in the ditch. And I'll tell y'all what I messed up. I wrote down, I was like, we talk about being a chameleon and working with people on their level. Well, that's not what it is. Being a chameleon in this sense, what we're getting into, is a derogatory term, not a term of honor, not a badge of honor, because, Daniel, you can go be a chameleon. You can go talk to some people. Now, you may not go in a suit and tie meeting in the middle of downtown New York, but, Daniel gets along with a lot of people. He can fit in with some guy that's down here digging on the side of the road. He can work with some guy that's sitting over here in an office. He can work with a guy that's the state engineer that's looking over the brick. He can work with these people. But at the same token, working with them and trying to just morph into them and being a true chameleon with them is not what his purpose is. His purpose is to be him. And his purpose is to get that chance to share the Lord. And if he truly just falls in and there is no distinguishing factor about him, if he is that good of a chameleon, then his witness is not going to be strong. If I can blend in so good that I'm not set apart, we're supposed to be unique. Guys, we're supposed to be set apart from the rest of the world. We're supposed to be weird. Right? So we can't be too good of a chameleon. And again, that's what threw this whole thing in the ditch. So I'm going to go through our lesson, and I keep flipping. I wrote, I'll apologize, because we were writing notes with the light on in the truck at 11 o'clock before this thing got thrown in the ditch. So I've got notes everywhere today. But let's just get into it, and I'm going to take y'all honestly, it's funny. Lifeway and our quarterly, I like to say quarterly because Jamie don't like it. Y'all heard me say it. But this one I'm going to go a little different. We're going to go top to bottom. We're just going to kind of go ahead and read through it, and then we'll work through our points. I like the way they break it down, but there is like an overwhelming message I really want to make sure we get without struggling too much on the individual words. And the individual words, if I miss something today or definition, it's right there in your book. So let's go 1 Corinthians 9, 16 through 18. 16, for though I preach the gospel, I have nothing to glory of. For necessity is laid upon me, yea, woe is unto me, if I preach not the gospel. For if I do this thing willingly, I will have a reward. But if against my will, a dispensation of the gospel is committed to me. What is my reward then? Back to that kind of thought. We'll get into that in a minute, but keep that one there. Verily, that when I preach the gospel, I may make the gospel of Christ without charge, that I abuse not my power in the gospel. So we're going to find here in a minute, again, he's basically telling flat out, I'm not, I'm an apostle, but I'm not going to abuse my power, my level in this, because I'm not the guy that came and did all this stuff for you guys. Let's go on through 19. For though I be free from all men, yet have I made myself servant unto all. And that's where we're going to come back in a minute. We're going to lay here for a pretty good little while. That I might gain the more. And unto the Jews I became as a Jew. And this is where I really messed up on my chameleon thinking. That I might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law, as under the law, that I might gain them that are under the law. So here we got another group that we're going to talk about. And to them that are without the law, as without law. So we're going to get to each of these groups. Being not without law to God, but under the law to Christ. And we'll talk about that too. That I might gain them that are without law. To the weak became I as weak, that I might gain the weak. I am made all things to all men, that I might be all by all means save some. And that one really got me. Because he's smart enough, he's not going to save all, right? But he's going to do all these things in Christ's name to save some. And I listened to one guy preach on this last night, and he went completely down the rabbit hole of that you've heard it preached a million times, I'm sure, that if it saves one soul. And they talked about, I can't remember that girl's name, the little girl that fell in the well years and years ago. These boys won't even remember, but it was like the biggest news, even when I was a kid. That was the biggest thing. Was it Jessica? But anyway, when the kid fell in the well, the entire world watched. All these people, all these prayers for one child that was in this situation. And there was actually a picture that the guy brought up at the end of his sermon that was really cool. When they sealed the top of that well, they put for baby Jessica, I think it was Jessica, is that right? And in God, and a verse, and wrote it in whale on the top of the lid, just as a remembrance that all these people with a common focus, that one life of this one child, with everything else going on in the world, to the Christian people was important. The one that they left the 99 for the one child stopped the world. Which is when we're in the right place, that's where we should be. And this I do for the gospel's sake, that I might be a partaker thereof with you. Last verse, and I got some questions for y'all. Know ye not that they which run in a race. Now, the Olympics are on. I don't know if any of y'all are watching them, but I'm about to turn them off after our athletes are acting the way they're acting, and somebody watches it, they can just get mad. But our athletes are not being very appreciative of the situation they're in. They act like we're getting bombed by a foreign nation or something, the way they act. But anyway, the Olympics are on. One thing I want to say in this little part, because I don't know if we'll get 100% back here because of how the rest of this runs. there wasn't actually like an Olympics in Corinth. Okay, there's like a true mini Olympics, and I ran across this. They truly, the reason he picks this analogy that he's getting ready to do is these people are into sport. So this is almost like they're Roman, and this is literally, this particular area was known for like a lot of the athletes that would participate in Rome at the big Colosseum. These were athletes, so they would appreciate what he's getting ready to say. So he's going to talk about running, and he's going to talk about actually boxing, like fighting. But they would actually understand this, is why he's putting it on their level. But know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize. So he's trying to basically say, guys, you earnestly got to go as hard as you can go. I mean, if it's for God, you're going to go as hard as you can go. If it's for any cause you believe in, you're going to go as hard as you can go. But he actually was in the time, and I really like to go back to this, that everybody didn't get a medal. Everybody didn't get a trophy. It was okay for one person to win the event. Everybody didn't have to get a pat on the back or a participation medal. I mean, people can actually learn to lose, and it's a life skill. Sorry, I mean, everybody doesn't work the same. Everybody doesn't earn the same. And if kids get taught that from that big, then they really get a rude awakening when they get to high school and they make a D or an F on a paper, and they're like, well, why don't I get one? Why don't I get an A? Well, because you didn't work for it. And every man that striveth for the mastery and temperate in all things, now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown. Now, the corruptible crown, and like I said, the reason I am stopping here because I don't know if we'll make it back. The corruptible crown, what they got as a prize, and y'all seen on TV, but you got the little thing that like Caesar wears, but it was made out of live branch or flower or tree.
Yeah, it's called a laurel.
Like a laurel. Yeah, that's what they actually call it. And it's the reason he's saying it's a dispensable, disposable, corruptible, it's not going to last. So the prize that these people had worked, and the really good analogy was they had worked, gosh, maybe years of their life, if not at least a year of their life to get ready for this big great event, and they win it, and they get something put on their head. And it's just like, roses for Valentine's Day. How long are they going to last, right? They'll last for a few weeks, and then they go on, and nobody really cares. I therefore so run, not as uncertainly. And then he gets into this, so fight I, not as one that beateth the air. So he's not going to go out there. He's moved from running to fighting. He's not going to just flail his arms out here at nothing. I mean, he's not going to just waste his energy. He's not going to waste those motions. He's not going to waste his and exhaust himself. But I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by all means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. But again, these folks are going to understand this, and if we can get back to it, we'll get into castaway. But that's that's the one part that gets pretty tricky with these scholars. It doesn't with Lonnie, but it gets a little deep. You can probably go have a session of things about what he truly means when he's going to be a castaway, from either out of the world to forgotten to. So I'm not going to run that one. I'll let Lonnie run that one one day. But what I want to start, there's a couple questions, and I have missed y'all, so since I've rambled. What do you guys think about when, we're compelled? And like I said, I wish Mike was sitting in here. He literally looked around when we were talking about the visitation, and he said, guys, it wasn't a request, what we're getting ready to do, whether you want to consider it discipleship or not. But it's still working for God. It's still working for Christ. If you take one single visitation pack out of here and you go see somebody, you've done something for God, right? You have worked for Him in His honor. So we're compelled. That's a strong word. That's like I tell these boys sometimes, they get voluntold, right? They didn't even get volunteered. They got voluntold. They're going to go do something. So honestly, if you really look at the Great Commission, we are kind of volunteering, kind of to it. We're voluntold what we're supposed to do. We get a free gift. And you can take that gift and you can sit here with it and you can have that gift. You can get that free gift of salvation. And honestly, you can do nothing with it for the rest of your life and not lose it. But that's not what we're supposed to do.
Just like I told you earlier, after studying Acts through the last 5 weeks, the one thing that come to me like a slap in the face, our mission is the same mission it was in Acts, and that is to spread the good news.
And to go make other people that will continue. It's a perpetual thing. And I know y'all have heard me, and I'm dying to do it. And sometime, Lonnie, there's going to be a week, well, these don't fit, and I'm going to ask Lonnie permission to do, like, true discipleship for an hour. But that's what we're supposed to do. It's a perpetual, we make disciples, we foster disciples. Those disciples make more disciples. They foster those disciples. And everybody grows each other up in the Word. And I won't get too far from it. But the key thing that we're getting through all this stuff in some of our classes is it's not all his job.
No.
Everybody thinks it's Lonnie's job. There's a 20-80 or 80-20, however you want to do it. It's 80-20 theory. And it's especially true in the church. 20% of the people in most government bodies or memberships or groups, whether it's at the Wildlife Club or here at this church or a volunteer fire department or at the food pantry or anywhere you want to go, for whatever reason with human nature, generally 20% of the people in one group do 80% of the load. I mean, I'm not being mean, that's just fact, truth. This church, I really feel like we're not 20-80. But it's not his job, it's not the pastor's job, and honestly, we're not, there's verse after verse after verse. His job is to foster that stewardship of all of us working amongst each other. And if we're really all doing our job, we need a little small group over here doing this, which we have, and we need a small group over here doing this, and we need a small group over this. And then Lonnie gets to kind of just help manage those small groups and then truly bring us a divine, inspired message that we learn from. But truly growing this church, everybody needs to go visit somebody. Everybody needs to go tell your own testimony. Just tell them that what you're having a hard time with, or just, again, get on their level and relate to them.
Well, the scripture tells us we are a servant.
That's the role. We're not a king. Christ was a servant king. We're servants. But you guys, what do you guys think, since we all have a commission, and if y'all want to go, in your book, they go to Mark 16, 15. I always like to read over Matthew 28, 19, and 20, but it's the same commission. But you guys, when have you truly felt compelled? So, let's kind of go around that. When have y'all felt compelled? In the last week or days or months to go talk to somebody? And I hope a lot of people will say they're getting compelled by what's getting ready to come up with our drive. But anybody got anything?
You remember the little house on the prairie when the carrier fell down the well?
Yeah. That's to say, them kids in all West fell down the wells right smart. They're them bigger wells. Anybody else?
Well, for me, it was when after I started Bible studies with the Looms Ladies Bible Study, I tried to encourage more ladies to attend.
Which is a great thing. Ladies groups, men's groups, prayer groups. This whole thing only works. I'm serious, guys. This whole thing only works if, and I'll just go ahead and jump there. If we all like to fish in the pond we know. So let me hit y'all with that just for a second. I got a little pond, and some of y'all come fish in it. Everybody likes to fish the pond they know, because Light pretty much knows if you throw over into that grass, you're going to get bit. We all like to fish in the pond we know. Well, let's consider these four walls as, it's more than four, but let's consider these four as our pond, right? So, yeah, there may be one. There may be more than one. We don't know every single heart. Somebody can set a pew for years and truly not have given their heart. But you can see the fruit of people's actions, right? So you kind of know. You kind of know if somebody is true need of Christ in that salvation piece. We don't 100%, but we pretty much know. But if I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life, if I get 25 to 40 years, to like coming in here and just literally say, hey, I can fish in this pond. It's easy for me to come in and talk to y'all. I love every one of you. And if I mess up and fall flat on my face, guess what? You're going to pick me up and pat me on the back and say, go try it again. But when we leave these doors, we don't like to go fish in the lake, in the river that we're not accustomed to. It's easy to come in here and hug everybody's neck. We're a family. We're a family in Christ. We're brothers and sisters. We're one body with many pieces. We're trying to work together. But when we get out them doors, I love to talk, but it's hard to knock on somebody's door. Especially, you should be proud to be representing Christ, but we all know it puts this little gut, especially if you're going to go visit somebody that actually not even, some people aren't just neutral. I can visit a neutral person really easy. But if you get somebody over here on the far side that, when somebody will argue with you the other way, that's when it really gets uncomfortable. But we're going to have that as we go out. And I'm not saying that to scare anybody. I'm saying it to encourage you. Because we truly have the Holy Spirit living with us. We've been going over this. So we should be greatly prepared for this mission that we're getting ready to undertake as a church. You shouldn't, high and light should be, at this point, knowledgeable to where they can go visit some young folks. Curtis shouldn't be a bit afraid to go knock on anybody's door. He's Curtis. Everybody loves Curtis. They're going to love him in 30 seconds. And when you walk away, you may not have a warm, fuzzy feeling that they got what you wanted them to get out of it. But you went and did it. And that was your job. Jesus will change that heart. You go plant that seed, and then you do your part. And you get out of this pond when we get ready to go. Everybody get out of here and go work. We were commanded to work. We weren't asked if you feel like it. We were told. So everybody, listen, get off our pews and go work on this thing.
Well, it tells us that if his word goes out, it does not come back void.
It won't. Your nets won't be empty. They may be empty for the first 100 days, but at some point you're going to drag it across the one that needs it.
That's exactly right.
Let's get over here and try to go just a little bit. I do want to get into his mindset, and then, like I said, we'll make run plumb in the ditch. But I do want you to see when he says, he wants to preach the gospel. The gospel at this point is the good news. I'm going to kind of go through this kind of quick. But he says, moreover, brethren, I declare to you the gospel which I preached unto you, which also you received, and wherein you stand, by which ye are saved. Again, this same gospel, this same ultimate first thing, the first step we need is that salvation. You get it, then you go work with it. I have nothing to glory. When he says that, he's saying, I'm not boasting. Okay? This isn't me. I'm not bragging. I'm not taking credit for anything you hear out of me. For the necessity is laid upon me. Well, he couldn't do anything other than proclaim it says right here, proclaim the good news of salvation. What else does Paul want to do? Think about it, guys. He's a tent maker. Oh, I made the best tent. His whole thing of being an apostle and all the apostles and disciples, the only reason they have power is because of Christ. So what else are you going to do? He probably ain't as pretty as me. I got that going for me, but he ain't got that. So what, he's got Jesus. That's what he's there for. And he's like, I have a reward. So, and again, Lonnie, I'll be real careful here. This is one instance when Paul is going to not take pay for this. He is entitled. And if you have time, go read 1 through 15. And I don't know why it's not here. If they wanted you to see this piece in our commentary, and again, that's not where the Lord wants us to go this morning, but you need to read the 4 or 5 verses right before this. They talk about having a wife. Paul talks about some of the other apostles taking their spouse with them. It talks about the pay that these guys could receive, the food that they should get, the way they should be treated as apostles. He's basically coming to these people saying, I ain't taking none of what you got, and I'll go make a tent and pay my bills, and then I'm going to come in here and preach, and then you can't say that I'm doing it for any reason other than what I'm telling you I'm here for. And that doesn't mean the preacher shouldn't get paid, but it's just this particular instance, for whatever reasons, that's why he went to these people this way.
Well, for one thing, he studied with the Pharisees and the Sanhedrin, so they expected people to pay them.
Pass the plate. but seriously, these guys, he's going to humble himself as much as he can. I ain't taking nothing from you. So I don't owe you nothing except the truth. His power in the gospel, and that, again, without charge, he's not getting paid, but his power in the gospel, he is saying, I've got full rights to power. I am anointed, right? But I'm not going to put myself here. And then we're going to live right here for the next 20 minutes. This is where we're going to live. Why? I'm going to ask y'all a question. Why does establishing common ground? So if we're going to go talk to these folks, I'm telling you, Lord, don't mess up. We're putting these packets out this week, guys. Nobody planned it around my Sunday school lesson. Why does establishing this common ground? Why is it important? So let's say Ryan's here, but let's say you go knock on Ryan's door and he wasn't here, and there's a deer head on the wall. You don't have to be the most avid hunter to understand that either he likes to hunt, or it's his daddy's or his grandpa or his uncle, but he ain't gonna be hanging in his living room if it ain't important to him, right? So let's break that on down. Like you knock on somebody's door, Curtis, and you walk in, they got 50 pictures of their dog, right? Maybe there's your icebreaker, because Jamie's got 50 pictures of donkeys. If they come to our house, they're going to talk about goats and donkeys. They walk in and they've got their family pictures on the wall. Especially, guys, if they've got a new picture. Keep that in mind when we go. I was thinking over this morning, and we were sitting back there and I was looking through all Lonnie's pictures. He's got a lot of older pictures, but if you've got these ones and somebody's like pinning these up and it's like their grandchildren, they're going to talk to you about their grandchildren. They're going to talk to you about their pets. They're going to talk to you if their cat walks through when you're in there. That cat ain't in that house if they don't love it. So find some common ground. Look around. Just look at your atmosphere. If there's a brand new ball goal out, who's playing ball on your ball goal? Find something positive. You'll find something. If there's an old hot rod in the garage when you pull up, way to a man's heart's tools and cars and hot rods. Say, man, what year car is that? You may not know nothing about a car.
I know something.
but even if you don't, just say, man, that's cool. What kind of car is that? But let's find some common ground.
Another thing is you can also, before you even take on this mission and go to someone's house, you pray and ask the Holy Spirit to show you something that you can connect with that person.
And He will. He will. We need to pray before we go, when we're in the car, before you get out the door of the car.
Got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Listen. They'll tell you. Just listen.
Yeah, most of these people, I'm going to be surprised in our neighborhood if many people just sets it up, right? And if they do, just say, well, I ain't Jehovah's Witness, here's your little packet. But most people when I ask, they're going to talk to you.
And most people would rather you be a good listener and a good talker anyway.
Yeah.
And once you get started talking to someone, there's nothing wrong with letting them take the lead.
No.
But
It's
you
not.
just,
understand them better after you listen.
but you can't give up.
And if they're feeling something, to your point, let them get it out.
Yeah.
It may not be comfortable, every one of them. But I bet you when you get back in your vehicle and you're getting ready to go home and I bet your heart will be warmer than it was when you left.
But we got to remember, Christ's life was not comfortable either.
No.
He stepped on a lot of toes with the Pharisees. People People
Sheila's little
wanted
dog-
him and some did not.
Sheila's little dog got up on the couch the other morning. Well, he scratched her on the nose. Well, I said, honey, I said, I'm gonna rip that. I'm gonna cut them claws, and I did.
Don't jump on her butt. She'll get your fingernails.
He's a mean little sucker when he wants to be.
But let's connect. And let's go into this right here. You can go on one, I don't know if it's 139 girls book, but the servant. Let's talk about that part. Let's go into this humbly. And I'm not telling anybody what to do, but it did resonate with me last night, particularly in the thoughts of Kris. I think sometimes I try, and so maybe we all do, there's certain things we like affiliated with, right? Even if it should all be here. But there are things we all like in the world that we like to, whether it's hunting or fishing or whatever. But don't be too polarizing. And that was literally laid on my heart last night. And what I guess I'm trying to say is, try to be as neutrally dressed. Don't wear a MAGA hat. Don't wear, seriously. I'm not going to go wear my amendment shirt for guns. I'm not going to wear a Smith & Wesson shirt. I'm not even going to wear a duck hunting shirt. The one person I need to talk to is people, ask these boys, people in this county hate people. A lot of them that live on the river don't like geese shot. So, if they wear a big duck hunting hat, you're starting to isolate yourself. Honestly, be a little bit of a chameleon in this. Be a little bit of a politician, right? Don't be too polarized with your particular preconceived notions. Just try to go to them neutrally in that servant role. Why do you think, besides the fact they couldn't afford it, why do you think Christ dressed so moderately? How many people would he have turned off in a big? He's the King of all kings. He should have been wearing gold robes, and if anybody did, but he barely would wear a splash of color, right? So think about that part. And then let's get into this. So under the Jews, don't forget Paul's a Jew.
He was also Roman.
And he was also Roman.
Yes, he was.
Don't forget Timothy in particular, and I'm not going to go run that one, Lonnie. I was going to run it this morning. But Timothy and Paul go on a deal, and I'm sure you've heard it, where Timothy gets circumcised to go talk to these people. Because they don't think their message is going to be heard, because his dad's a Gentile, and his mom was a Jew. And there's a sacrificial message there, but there's also a big message in that what are we willing to do for the Lord? That's a pretty good little thing that he was willing to go do so that he would be heard by these folks. But again, keep remembering, this is this mixed bag of folks. So, think about, circumcision, for example. It got to be so commonplace amongst Christians, right, in America, that it was just like people almost made a choice sometimes the other way. And now our world is like flipped back upside down, and we've lost the Christian background to it. That's why insurance don't cover it no more. It's elective. People, they get asked. It's kind of it went from like, okay, it's a straight Jewish thing, and then you have all these converted Christians, and then it's like, okay, well, we follow that tradition too, and it's ingrained in our society and ingrained in our, but now it's getting kicked back out because it's not the norm. But let's get into the other Jews. He started with this group, and typically what he would do, if you look at other instances, he'd go preach to them, they wouldn't listen no more. Honestly. A lot of times he would go in the temple and he would go preach to them till they wouldn't listen no more. And then he would go find the Gentiles.
Well, he would tell them he was going to go to the Gentiles.
Yeah, I'm tired of you. You ain't listening anyway, right? So that second, when they say without law, be very careful. It's saying they're not living under this Jewish law. We're in this mixed bag. It's not like the Gentiles were bad people. Some of them practicing some paganistic stuff, but they hadn't heard about Jesus Christ. I mean, you can't hold it against a man for doing something he ain't never heard about. And then again, the law that he is under, when he flips back and forth, he goes under the Jews and then the people without the law, and then we get into the law of Christ, which is the New Testament, which is the Great Command, the Great Commission, the, love one another. I mean, when Jesus is asked, what's the greatest command, he don't list those when he comes back. He didn't throw those out, but it's love God and love your neighbor. And then he basically says, I made all things to men. Paul summarizes his work with the groups. None of his rights were as important to him as his mission to win people to the faith. And that just stuck with me because he is truly serving this risen Savior. So back to what I was saying, I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do when you get there. Just, if the boys go, don't have your windows down blasting music when you pull in somebody's driveway, right? I mean, just like some common courtesy things, don't put yourself out there too far on that limb so that you can truly, talk to these folks. I wrote down, there's a twofold thing here, and I hope I can explain it as well as it got explained to me, but I make a servant. I made myself a servant. And I'm just putting you in Paul's place. To win more. Because that's basically where he starts. And then I became all things to all people to win some. So the servant role, and I heard a guy it was a great explanation. The servant role, if we all take it on, it'll carry you all the way. It will win all. Now, I'm not saying it will win all hearts. That's where we got to split this thing. That servant role will win hearts. It will also build your brothers and sisters up. It will also lift your pastor up. It will also lift your family up. And as I said before, if you didn't care anything about any truth and you just used that as a roadmap to live life, you wouldn't live any better life than a sinful person could possibly live it, right? So when we take that servant role, and I'm going to y'all remember those bumper stickers? And I thought I was in trouble with this professor when I wrote this paper the other day, and I wasn't sure because he's a preacher over in Tennessee, and I can't read him through the email as good as I'd like to talk to him for 10 minutes. But you remember that said, and if y'all have one, please don't, I'm not trying to offend you, but they used to say, God is my co-pilot. People had them that forever. And I thought, man, they were cool. I mean, even when I wasn't like super on fire, but when Jamie and I, when we first got salvation and I was a little on fire and I was trying to do better, I was like, man, that's cool. They got God as their co-pilot. Well, guess what? They completely wrong.
God is the pilot.
Yeah, if he's your co-pilot, I ain't flying with you. Right?
We're the co-pilot. He's the pilot.
They meant well. Nobody meant that to be derogatory, but if you really get in here and look, he better be the pilot. I mean, if you got, from now on, if that's on somebody's bumper, I'm not driving with you. I'm not flying with you. Because he needs to be your pilot. You be the co-pilot. Of course, he ain't going to fall out and need you. You're going to need him, right? I've told people about their presidents and their mayors and all that stuff. I will say my one little political thing, and I don't care if they're Democrat or Republican. Once they're there, once they're there and you voted and you said your piece, look at it like we're on an airplane. And they're driving. I mean, seriously. When Obama was in there, he flying a plane. Trump flying a plane. Clinton flew a plane. Reagan flew. Once we're on that plane, you better pray they all do good, whether they're on your team or not. This ain't a football game, right? It's not just like your feelings are going to be hurt and you get to play again. They're running our country. They're running the most powerful country in the free world. We better get behind them whether you're blue or red or green, because we're all on that same bus. But again, God is not our co-pilot. He's
That
upright.
scripture in that Bible tells you to pray for your leaders.
Does. And your pastoral leaders, your evangelical leaders, not, and literally your world leaders. I mean, everybody. I mean, that's. And then the last thing I'm going to say is that God proved this, and I want y'all sometime to go over, and because I had actually never in all this stuff, I'm sure I maybe had read it but not studied it. But sometime y'all look up when Paul confronts Peter in public, and just you know what he technically is when he gets there. I mean, he confronts him. I mean, it's fairly. I don't know how many people was there, Lonnie. Do you? But you know why he's confronting him? For being a chameleon. He is accusing him, rightfully so, from what I can tell, and probably wouldn't put it in the Bible if it wasn't rightfully so, of doing that blend I was talking about. He was accusing him of basically getting up and leaving these people, and it's basically said, Lonnie probably quoted, like he quit dining with one group to go to another group. He quit over here with the Gentiles because they didn't like the way that he would. And the perception. Again, you've got this mixed pot, this melding pot of religious ideas, and the thing we all still fight is, with racism and gender stereotypes and all of this crazy stuff that's out there. But you got a melding pot, and it's all kind of coming to a head, and everything's changing. You do have people that can go in this room and sit over here and talk to you about something they really ain't supposed to be talking to you about, and then go talk to you about something you're not supposed to be talking, and then go talk to you, and they fit in great with every single one of them little groups until it gets back to the big group, and you get discovered that, oh, well, he cusses with him, and he drinks with him, and he goes out to the nightclub with her, and truly like getting in the world. I mean, Jamie's little bottle thing, you could use it every Sunday about being in the world and not of the world. But don't be a chameleon, but humble yourself in a servant role and put yourself in these people that we're getting ready to go see shoes. But sometimes look at that. Look at Paul confronting Peter. It's just, I love to talk about it, but we're not going to have time. What else, guys, as we finish this up today? Y'all ain't been here for 3 weeks. You got to have some.
One thing I've discovered, it's often easier in a way to talk just with strangers than it is with your own family, the ones that are closest to you.
You think it's because we worry what they think?
We were talking about going to speaking to other people. We're to speak to them out of love. We're not to shove religion down their throat. We're to speak to them about Christ, and God will do the rest.
We're planting the seed and let him water it, right? I mean, we're just planting the seed. You know, this day and time, and Ryan will tell you the same thing, there's ways to plant seeds that barely disturb the earth. You ever thought about that? You don't have to make the greatest impression that there ever was, and you don't have to even have that person remember your name if they see you at Nathan's Creek Solar. But you can go in there and plant that seed. The goal is not to be recognized for the work, it's to go do it in a servant role for Christ. It's not to be, boy, Tyler saw 30 people, Lonnie only did 15. You know, we can't let that kind of stuff creep in. And the less splash you make in somebody's pool sometimes is the best.
Well, mustard seed in Israel is an invasive plant. It just spreads everywhere. We were doing a Bible study years ago, I did with Nan Jones, and they were talking about, we could relate to the same thing with kudzu. It pops up everywhere and it takes over. That's what we should be doing. just like Good said, just covering it up.
That Muller 4 roads, right, Ryan? Particularly me. Anybody's got anything else? We've been gone for 3 weeks. We're not too far from, it won't say winter on it too much longer, guys. It'll say spring, but it might not feel like spring. I think with the 22nd, it's our last lesson over here, but,
We'll think it's spring this week.
She was talking about the dog, the scratcher. Cody does the same thing, he scratches too.
you don't cut his paws, do you?
No, I
Okay.
don't know how, I ain't never cut no animals this way.
You can, I mean, you can cut the, just hold their little paws and pat them on the head and tell them you're not gonna hurt them, cut their paws with, cut their little toenails with a toenail clipper. It's
Yeah, but
easy.
now Panda scratches.
Well, guys, I'm glad y'all are back. Glad y'all got to see me. Hope y'all got something out of it. And we'll talk next week. I'm actually going to bring y'all a little survey next week if the Lord don't change the plan. That maybe the first 5 minutes. What I'll do, Bobby, I don't mess you up. I might have the boys hand it out so y'all can like do some quick answers. Jamie's already done it, and I think Lonnie will like it. We'll do one on our personal, score our own selves on how we're living on up, out, and inward. And then maybe in a couple weeks we'll score our church as a whole about how it's doing up, out, and inward. But I think you'll be surprised if you're like me. It probably never feels.
With your survey, put it on the group page.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Yeah, I'll give y'all I'll give you a prelim. I'll take you a picture of it. But we'll get in here and it's like 1 through 10 on. It is 30 questions, but they're quick. You can just say. But be thinking about that. We'll work on that. We're gonna work it in.
Yeah, but it might be the same thing happened to us and you. You know, we'll put one answer down and the good Lord says, no, that's not it.
Yeah, I kept lowering mine.
They said, put it on.
Kris, I think I speak for everyone, we sincerely appreciate you coming to the Sunday school.
I wouldn't have known. That's my most fun thing for the week.